Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we have a beautiful Gibson SG Goddess in the Roseburst finish. I've documented every single color of the Les Paul Goddess series, so I figured, hey, let's start on the SGs now. Just as a quick recap, the Goddess series, built around like 2006 to 2008. They were SGs and Les Pauls that were designed and marketed towards women. So what exactly does that mean? They made the bodies slightly smaller, they reduced the nut width to around 1.62 inches, and they gave them a slim 60s neck profile. Instead of a 4-knob layout, you just have a master volume and a master tone with these beautiful, unique knobs at the time. They did away with the bridge and tailpiece system and just did the wrap tail. They introduced automatically locking Grover tuners, and they offered them in 5 different finishes that had a gloss top with a satin back and sides. Those colors were Roseburst, Violet Burst, Sky Burst, Ice Burst, and Ebony. Now to go with those fancy finishes, the pickups were wound with specially colored wires. That will vary from color to color, but you can see here that these ones are a nice red color. As far as construction woods go, they are mahogany bodies with mahogany necks, and kind of the cool feature for these guys is the ebony fretboard. Due to how these things were marketed, they kind of flopped. They didn't do so well. There were many colors that were put on clearance, and I've heard you could pick these things up fairly cheap back when they were new. However, as time has gone on and more people realize just how beautiful and unique these instruments are, prices have started to go up. Like top dollar for an SG, you're looking at about $1,800 now. But general market rate is anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500. The Les Paul version, a little bit more desirable. Top value of those, usually around $2,500, believe it or not. But again, your average market range is between $13 to $19. I personally really like this series, but let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench and take a look at its individual parts. First, we'll take a look at the body routes here. You can see you've got the RB writing in there for Roseburst, and then SGGD for SG Goddess. You've got your neck pickup route right there. That's the end of your neck tenon. And then they've got this huge rectangle thing here where the wires lead into the control cavity. And as with most SGs with the bat wing guard, the pickups are mounted to the pick guard itself. It's the 490R 498T pickups, and they say Gibson USA on the back. As we discussed earlier, the windings within the pickups themselves complement the color of this instrument. In this case, they're kind of a rose orange color. Now, keep in mind that these do actually have a cover on them. It's just the top is essentially cut out of them. And you do not have any adjustable pole pieces with these. So that's something that makes them unique. The bridge pickup reads 13.39 k ohms, middle position about 5, then the neck is 7.72. Here's what that compensated wrap tail piece looks like. The back doesn't really have any super markings except for those little numbers in there. And your 3-way toggle switch with master volume and master tone, and your special knobs with output jack. Mahogany body paired with ebony fretboard here. The only thing to know about some of these goddesses is sometimes they will get that whole gap in between the fret and the binding. This one, it looks like somebody's kind of smoothed it over. You can still kind of feel it if you're trying to make it happen, but I'm kind of happy that it's not as, blatant as some of these other ones have been. These frets are in pretty good shape. You can see that there is some light divoting starting to show, but nothing that you're going to have to worry about right away. With the truss rod cover removed, you can see the mahogany neck there, and this truss rod is in perfectly functioning condition, and you've got the red Gibson logo. That's just the clear coat that's been colored over. And of course the top lock Grovers. We have a nut width of 1.62 inches, which increases to 2.04 at the 12th. First fret neck depth of 0.82, which stays pretty skinny at 0.92 at the 12th. But they keep the standard 24 3/4 inch scale. Moving on to the back, you can see it uses your standard SG route, so if you wanted to add 2 more pots, it would be relatively easy to do, but that's what you've got stock here. 2 Gibson branded pots, 3-way toggle, output jack. Now with the back finish being satin instead of gloss, it kind of marks up a lot easier, and you can see like these little residue lines of where the strap was kind of scraping against it. And it'll also naturally polish up as it kind of rubs against your body, so that's some things to know about this one. The neck itself has kind of also been polished into a gloss. I haven't cleaned the back yet, but I will do that here shortly. But from the back, these locking grovers just looked like normal. I personally don't like the top locks, but hey, that's just me. And this is a pretty early 2006 model. This example weighs 6 pounds, 12.8 ounces. Now that we know what this guitar is made of and its specs, let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Now that we know how this instrument sounds, let's go ahead and review its condition. This is a player's grade SG Goddess. When I got it, I was kind of dissatisfied with the condition. It was a lot more worn than I thought, but after a good polish job on this beauty, I think it cleaned up pretty well, but we can still see that it's been played. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Face of the headstock. Hey, it presents pretty well, right? But if you get it in the light, you can see it's kind of had a rough life. There's like string impressions, like it was just strung up improperly, which is very common with these auto lock tuners because people don't understand them. I'll even admit sometimes I just string them up like regular because they're kind of confusing. So you spin these things around until you kind of hear and feel a locking mechanism like click, and then you put your string through, and then as you're turning this, it kind of just automatically locks it into place. Many people will just get confused and like try to tighten these down. They're called auto locks for a reason. They automatically lock in place. I don't personally like them. I hate how they stick up farther. And for me, there's something to, spinning that back one and knowing that it's locked in place versus these, you're just like, well, I guess I hope they work. But besides all the scratches, nicks, and dings on the face, you've got the beautiful red Gibson logo. The frets and fretboard were just cleaned and conditioned. You're good to go there. As you saw in the inside look spec part, there is a little bit of fret wear, but nothing you're going to have to worry about right away. I would suggest a personalized setup to your own tastes. Along the top of the instrument, there's not too much wear on this gloss top because it kind of hides it pretty well, but you do have a few light nicks and dings to the top, especially kind of around the output jack area right here. You can see some of those. You've also got some light pitting to the chrome hardware. You can see that here. You've got tons of scratches on the pickguard itself, and there is a little bit of rust to the pole pieces. I wiped that off the best I could, so it doesn't look quite as grungy anymore. Back of the headstock, serial number 005360518, made in USA. You've got some edge wear. You can see where it's kind of been dinged up against something right there. But there's no like chips off the headstock or anything like that. Back of the neck, it was a satin finish, but it's kind of been played naturally into a more of a gloss feel. I also just, cleaned this up and that kind of amplified that effect, especially on the back here. But what is very common on these is there's a line that kind of forms along where the fretboard joins to the body. That's just the nitro finish sinking in between the woods there. Nothing to worry about, but it is there. It might be something that you can't live with cosmetically, so I definitely want you to know that it is there. Back of the instrument, I mean, this thing's all stock except for Schaller strap locks. There is a patch of buckle rash on the back. It's basically just a small area of clear coat that's been worn through. Because just looking at it like this, you don't really see it too much. You kind of got to get it in the light. And that's because, I polished this up pretty good. So all the dust you're seeing on this, that's just because whenever I polish a guitar, it's really annoying. All the dust just goes whoop like a magnet. And I can't see it in my playback of my camera until I'm editing the footage. So that's kind of annoying. We'll take a look around the edges. I did not take any special care to wipe this down or super polish them, so you can see some wear and tear, light nicks and dings, things like that. But overall, I would say this thing presents well. It doesn't look like a Road Warrior, but it definitely is. Blacklight test, everything's glowing the way I would expect to see. You can see it glows a little bit more right here because somebody's sweat has absorbed into the finish. Now, as to why the neck pickup glows like this and the bridge pickup doesn't, I have no explanation for that. Maybe the player's sweat has kind of absorbed into the pickup itself. I'm not really sure. It works, that's all I know. Base of the headstock is also glowing the way I would want to see, as is the back of the headstock. And again, this is just sweat absorbed into the finish. That's why it glows more, and also why it's a much more glossy feel. Here it looks like we got a little bit of stand rash that you can't see because it's a black finish. And just more sweat here and just regular aging there. So everything is the way I would want to see on this one. Quick look around the edges though. This instrument comes in its original hard shell case. Combo lock hasn't been set. You've got all the latches still there and functioning. But the case, it's definitely been gigged. It's kind of dirty. I don't know, you could probably wipe some of that off. I never really bother too much with cleaning the cases. And the interior is a dark gray color. You've got good heel support, double neck rest. You can't ask for much more. These are pretty darn good cases here. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this Gibson SG Goddess in the Roseburst finish, feel free to check out that link in the description that will take you to the Reverb for Sale page. You can buy this one, or you can get the Les Paul, or I'll make a nice bundle deal for you on both of them. Thank you Troglodytes for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.